Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something foundational. Thomas Ogden's article, The Interpretive Action. It's quite something.
It really is a game changer for many.
Absolutely. And look, this deep dive is especially for you if you're maybe earlier in your psychotherapy career. If you're starting to think beyond just, what interpretation to offer and starting to wonder about how you interpret, when feels right, and maybe even where these ideas actually come from inside you. Does that sound familiar?
I think it resonates with many clinicians starting out, that questioning phase.
Exactly. So we're going to sort of walk through Ogden's thinking together, ask some big questions like, what's an interpretation really supposed to do?
Right. Is it just about insight?
Yeah. Or is it more? And where's it come from? Is it just my theory or something else? And what do we lose sight of if we forget interpretation is an act, something we do, not just something we think or say?
That's the core of it. Ogden really pushes back against seeing interpretation as just communicating some insight we've figured out.
Like delivering a message.
Precisely. He shifts the focus completely to its dynamic nature, how it unfolds between people. It's interactive.
Okay, let's unpack that straight away. Interpretation as an action. Not just an idea, not just words. What does he mean by that? Because we spend so much time crafting the what.
We do. But Ogden says the doing is just as critical, maybe more so. He uses this term, interpretive action. In the Hebrew, he cites.
Action, okay.
Yeah, it emphasizes the act of interpreting over just the content. He brings in poetry, actually.
Yeah.
Paula Stevens. We say ourselves in speech, we do not speak.
Say ourselves in speech, we do not speak. What is that? How does that connect?
Well, think about it. How much do you convey beyond just the words, your tone, the pauses, maybe a slight shift in how you're sitting?
Right, the nonverbal stuff.
Exactly. And Ogden, referencing analysts like Sandler and Rosenfeld, points out that that is also part of the interpretation. From the floor, saying ourselves in speech, we do not speak. The meaning isn't just in the words.
It's in the whole event, the whole interaction.
Yes. The act of speaking, the way it lands, the context it springs from, that's all part of the meaning being made. It's not just the intellectual content.
So for you listening, this means kind of shifting your awareness, doesn't it? Moving beyond just planning the perfect sentence. It's asking yourself, what am I actually doing right now by saying this? Am I just giving information, or am I joining, challenging, opening something up? Am I aware of that whole dance?
And that leads perfectly into his idea of the third analytic person. The third, okay, not literally a third person.
No. It's more like an experiential field, something that gets created between the analyst and the analysand. It's dynamic, it evolves. It's the unique relationship itself, almost like its own entity.
A co-created space.
Exactly, co-created. And Ogden argues that interpretation doesn't come from the analyst to the patient, like an external observation.
Right.
It actually emerges from within this shared space, this third. He talks about the interpenetration of subjectivities. Interpenetration. So how our inner worlds kind of meet and mix.
Yeah. Our feelings, the patient's feelings, our unconscious responses, their unconscious responses, they all mingle in this shared field. And the interpretation arises out of that meaning.
Wow. Okay, that's really interesting because it means my presence, my reactions, even the stuff I'm not fully aware of, it's all part of what's happening.
Absolutely. There's no neutral observer position. You're always participating in creating that third.
So you can't just be a detached expert delivering truths. You're in it.
You're fundamentally in it, which feels, like you said, maybe both liberating and, a bit daunting. It demands a certain kind of presence.
And maybe that connects to the timing aspect. You mentioned the dynamic nature.
Yes, the temporal dimension. Interpretation isn't static. It's not a fixed statement. It's an event unfolding in time.
An event. I like that. Not just a thing, but something happening.
Right. And because it's happening in time, the timing becomes incredibly important. Ogden talks about finding the moment of becoming. The moment of becoming.
Yes. That moment when the patient or the shared space is just ready for something to land. When an insight can actually be felt, experienced, not just intellectually understood.
So it's not just about having a brilliant idea, but sensing the right moment for it.
Exactly. How often have we had, what feels like a great interpretation, but we say it too soon or maybe too late, and it just
falls flat. Yeah.
It just bounces off.
Yeah.
Ogden's saying we need to tune into that rhythm, that readiness.
So a question for you listening. How much are you really considering the when, not just the what? Are you trying to deliver a truth, or are you trying to catalyze an experience?
Yeah.
Create an opening in that specific moment?
That's it. because the value isn't in the intellectual correctness. It's in what the interpretation does right then and there. Does it reveal something new? Does it maybe gently disturb a stuck pattern?
Or invite a feeling.
Or invite a feeling, exactly. Or maybe it just joins the patient where they are, but in a way that makes them feel deeply seen. It's about the lived effect. Okay, this feels like a good point to bring in the case example. Dr. M, you mentioned it helps make this concrete.
It really does.
Yeah.
So Dr. M has this patient who is very silent, pervasively silent.
Okay. Familiar scenario for many, I imagine.
Right. And initially, Dr. M does what many of us might do. He tries to figure out the meaning of the silence. Is it resistance, anger, emptiness? He's interpreting the content or lack thereof.
Trying to understand it intellectually.
Yes, but then something shifts. He stops just trying to interpret the silence from the outside and starts paying attention to his own experience of the silence.
Ah, so bringing himself into it.
Exactly. And he becomes aware of this feeling of deadness that his own efforts to intellectually grasp the silence are somehow contributing to. Like, his trying to understand it was paradoxically stopping anything truly alive from happening.
Wow. He realized his effort was part of the problem. Sort of, yeah. His way of trying to interpret was keeping them stuck. So he shifts. He doesn't necessarily say something different, but his presence changes. He engages with the silence as an action, as something they are in together, rather than something he needs to figure out about the patient.
And what happened?
It's quite striking. The patient doesn't suddenly explain the silence. Instead, seemingly out of nowhere, the patient says, "I recalled a dream."
A dream. So not a direct response to an interpretation about silence.
Not at all. It was a response to the shift in the analyst's way of being, the shift in the interpretive action, or perhaps the letting go of a certain kind of action. That shift created space for something new and alive, like the dream, to emerge.
That's powerful. It suggests that maybe letting go of needing the right answer, the correct interpretation, and instead trusting your own experience in the room, your participation in that shared space. That's where the real movement can happen. I think that's exactly what Ogden is getting at. It's about relying more on that felt sense within the intersubjective field, less on just intellectual formulation.
It feels like less pressure to be brilliant, maybe, and more permission to be present and responsive.
Yes, I think so.
Oh?
And it circles back to interpretation as an event. Its value is in the lived effect on both people.
Not just on the patient, but on both.
On both. Did it create a shift? Did it open up a living space instead of that deadness?
Oh.
Did it help foster transformation?
And you mentioned the patient hearing himself in it.
Right. That feeling when an interpretation lands and it feels less like something told to you and more like something discovered within you, something that resonates deeply. Yes, that's it. That often signals it came from that co-created space.
There was another example you mentioned, the dream about the lake.
Ah, yes, the dream about a deep, dark lake. Oh, so the patient shares this dream and also says, I have a feeling something is happening inside me. There's this anxiety.
Right. So the temptation might be to dive into the symbols.
Yeah.
Dark, deep lake.
Exactly. What does the lake mean? But the analyst in Ogden's example does something different.
What do they do?
They didn't focus on the symbolism. They focused on the shared feeling in the room. That anxiety, that sense of something happening right now, and on the act of the patient, bringing the dream as an event happening in the session.
So responding to the experience of telling the dream, not just the content of the dream.
Precisely. The interpretation affirmed the feeling that the dream itself, its telling, was an event in the session, something that happens. It validated the present moment experience.
So it joined the patient's feeling rather than explaining the dream away.
Beautifully put.
Yeah.
It joined the experience, creating that connection, that shared understanding in the moment.
Yeah.
Less about decoding, more about being with the experience together.
It really highlights interpretation as a relational act.
Fundamentally.
Okay, so as we kind of bring this together, Ogden's interpretive action really pushes us, doesn't it? It shifts interpretation from being a thing we deliver to an action, a process, an event that we co-create in that third analytic person space between us and the patient.
That's the heart of it. Moving beyond chasing the correct interpretation.
Right.
Towards really tuning into the effect, the timing, the resonance of what happens between you. Is it creating a living space? Is it fostering transformation? Or is it, maybe unintentionally, contributing to that deadness.
It's a call for more awareness of our own participation, our own presence.
And maybe a willingness to be a bit more uncertain, to let things emerge rather than forcing them.
So a final thought for you, the listener, as you go into your next sessions. Reflect on this. How might your work change if you shifted your focus even slightly from, what should I say, to what's happening between us right now in this moment, and how am I part of that happening?
How might that change your presence?
Yeah.
How might it impact your patients?
Yeah. What stands out to you about seeing interpretation as an act? How might that ripple into your work this week? Something to sit with.